story replacing the NAFTA agreement. The United States, Mexico, and Canada reaching a deal before the midnight deadline.
The new agreement will be called the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, or USMCA. It encourages U.S. companies to use domestic suppliers, stronger protections for workers, and requires 75% of auto content be made in North America.
Once approved by Congress, this new deal will be the most modern, up-to-date, and balanced trade agreement in the history of our country, with the most advanced protections for workers ever developed.
This agreement would also require the greater use of domestic steel and other materials. Officials say the move will return billions of dollars of production back to the United States, but the agreement still needs to be approved by Congress.
So we wanted to know, what do you think the new trade deal will do for Michigan? You can vote right now at WXYZ.com/vote. Meantime, this deal will have far-reaching effects on the auto industry.
7 Action News reporter Jim Kurtzner joins us live from the newsroom now. And Jim, could this affect how vehicles are built and how much they cost?
It will, but not immediately. That'll come in the years ahead. As you said, if they're not built primarily with U.S. components, that will cost more. If they're built in Mexico, new higher wages for workers there could also drive up our prices. That's not what NAFTA was.
The agreement needed to be modernized, and I think that was the plan going in, and we'll have to wait and see until we see the details as to how far they really went.
President Trump promised during the campaign that new trade deals would be made in North America and with China and other countries.
I have long contended that NAFTA was perhaps the worst trade deal ever made. Since NAFTA's adoption, the United States racked up trade deficits totaling more than $2 trillion. And it's a much higher number than that.
For the big three car makers, they'll now have to make sure cars made in the U.S. have increasing domestic content, going from 62 to 75% in the years ahead. That could cost them and us car buyers more.
But we don't know. Is it apples to apples? Have they changed what qualifies as local content?
Under NAFTA, more cars were built in Mexico because of lower wages. This new deal requires 30% of all cars sold here are made by people earning $16 an hour, a big 3 times more than what Mexicans are currently paid.
I mean, once you've increased the wages to equal the wages or close that gap with the U.S., you start to take away that advantage of building in Mexico. So I think the automakers will have to really analyze.
And they say the devil is in the details. Those could take weeks or months to come out, and only after this is ratified in all 3 countries. And this does not end all trade wars. The Trump tariff on steel coming in from Canada remains. Reporting live in the newsroom, Jim Kurtzner, back to you.
Thank you for breaking that down for us, Jim. We'll, of course, have the results of tonight's online poll on Action News at 7.
And the auto industry responding to the new deal this afternoon. Ford Motor Company releasing a statement saying Ford is very encouraged by today's announcement, and we applaud all 3 governments for working together to achieve free and fair trade in a strong regional agreement. And
General Motors says in part that it is pleased that the United States, Canada, and Mexico have worked together to reach an agreement in principle. This agreement is vital to the success of the North American auto industry.
And we have more in-depth information on what the new trade agreement with Canada and Mexico will mean for people in Michigan and around our country right now on our website, WXYZ.com.